Khamzat Chimaev gets into a brawl in the streets of Moscow, more precisely, a subway station, alongside UFC middleweight Shara Magomedov. This bizarre piece of news hit the Russian media space after Shara told the story in an interview to Russian reporters. Chimaev's relationship with Shara wasn't always particularly great, with the two having made some harsh comments about each other's records after Khamzat made fun of Shara's lack of wrestling ability, but the two seem to have squashed it since then, and through mutual friends, primarily from their management team, have been linking up to work out and hang out when they're both in Russia. In a recent interview, Shara revealed that a couple of days ago, he got into a street fight alongside Khamzat Chimaev. Well, more precisely, a subway station fight against 4 people. Allegedly, Khamzat and Shara were entering the metro station in Moscow when they got into a heated altercation with 4 local guys over a shoulder check. This resulted in a brawl and 2 knockouts. Speaking with the Russian channel Ushitaika, Shara Bullet described the incident. Quote, "I never get in these types of situations anymore. But when it comes to putting someone in their place, I can lose my patience sometimes, you know? It was exactly this type of scenario. Me and Khamzat were walking and decided to go into Metro to get out on the other side of the street. When we approached the entrance, these 4 guys were standing there like they owned the place. We immediately noticed how loud and obnoxious they were being. And when we got closer to the doors, they didn't even look like they were going to move to let us pass. So I shoulder checked one of them and we got going. All of a sudden I heard someone whistling behind us, like calling us. We turned around and one of these 4 was like, "Hey, come here." So we went back and asked what's up. They started talking in a disrespectful tone and one grabbed me by my arm, trying to pull me toward himself, saying, "Let's go outside, you'll find out." So at that point, we both attacked them. A brawl broke out. 2 of them ended up kind of knocked out, and the others ran out. These things can happen sometimes. Dan Hooker talks about the possibility of fighting Dustin Poirier next. The Hangman has been calling for another fight for a while now. At this stage of his career, with 3 consecutive victories over high-caliber opponents, the Kiwi doesn't feel like he has time to waste, and if he's ever going to make a run for the title, this is it. After defeating Mateusz Gamrot in his last bout, challenging for the title didn't seem too far-fetched of an idea anymore. The only problem was, to secure himself a possible title eliminator fight, every possible option was tied up at that point. Now, with Islam versus Arman planned for early next year, Oliveira and Max having recently fought in their respective bouts and not likely to come back to the octagon very soon, Justin Gaethje and Dustin are the 2 best options for Dan. And while a rematch between those 2 is possible to take place as well, Dan is eyeing his own second clash with Dustin, but isn't sure what direction the UFC will take this in. Here's what the Hangman said.
Who's, ranked above me, who I think I can beat, and who I know I can beat, and he kicked my ass. And now I would fight a man for any one of those 3 reasons. So, and Dustin Poirier there's ticked all 3 boxes, so that's definitely an option there. But yeah, we'll just have to wait and see what the UFC wants then, and because a lot goes on behind the scenes that we don't kind of see. So I don't know if he'd want to do that for his last fight. To think that I wouldn't want to do it would be silly, but yeah, we'll see. I said Dustin Poirier, I'm going to smash your face in, but I forgot the second part of that, which I will say the next time. I said Dustin Poirier, I'm going to smash your face in, and I'm not going to get my own face smashed in. I knew I forgot something. I knew I was forgetting something, bro. That's what I was forgetting. I got the smash in his face, forgot to smash in my own face.
Michael Chandler is still looking to fight Conor McGregor. And despite the Irishman having a very tough week, Mike would love to give him a warm welcome to the octagon. Chandler's career in the UFC has turned out to be a difficult one to gauge. Despite having lost most of his fights in the UFC, he's turned into a UFC equivalent to Arturo Gatti, with each one of his octagon appearances resulting in exciting action, and no matter if the end result is a win or a loss, fans still appreciate him and want to see more. His last fight turned out to be a banger as well, with Mike almost finishing Charles after losing most of the rounds, and while it is still too early to precisely predict who his next opponent is going to be, Mike seems to not be deterred from pursuing the Conor McGregor fight, even with all the drama around the Irishman at this time. In his latest media appearance, Chandler talked about future and explained why he thinks the Conor fight is still a part of it.
Yeah, tough week for the boy. His road back to the UFC, we have to finish the Ultimate Fighter. The UFC wants to finish the Ultimate Fighter. Conor wants to fight me. He can fight anybody, but he made a commitment, and I've said this numerous times. I have no problem giving my opponents props. Like, I think he's more sentimental and romantic about the sport than people give him credit for, because he has become this big, infamous, brand, right?
Mm-hmm.
But he knows he's nothing without that UFC octagon. He knows he's nothing without the UFC. He was a plumber on welfare, sleeping on a couch, and without the UFC, he's nothing, and I don't say that to take anything away from him. We all know, we need our employers or our brands or our whatever to take us to the next level and create the life, right? So I think he wants to see through to his commitment. Quite frankly, I mean, he needs to come back. He needs something to chase, or else he's going to keep chasing the wrong things.
Big John McCarthy and Josh Thompson reacted to Petr Yan defeating Deiveson Figuereido. The former bantamweight champion had a lot of questions to answer to, and with his performance in Macau, Yan sent a message to the division, reminding everyone that his days of being the elite of the weight class aren't over, and ambition to recapture gold is still there. Not long ago, the Russian had 3 losses in a row on his record and saw his stock plummet. Large parts of the community didn't perceive him as someone who would most likely reclaim his bantamweight throne anytime in the future, and especially after the Merab Dvalishvili loss, his ability to compete at the highest level was questioned. Now, the former champ won his 2nd fight in a row and is getting close to a position that would grant him an opportunity to contest for a belt again. He's called out Merab, and Dvalishvili was receptive to the idea of a rematch. This most likely won't take place next, as Yan has got some work to do still, but the shift in momentum and direction of his career is obvious. Big John and Josh react to Yan's performance.
I really enjoyed the fight. It had its ebbs and flows, and you could see where the momentum shifted back and forth at times. Petr Yan, for the most part, he just performed very well. He was smart. He was tactical. He didn't take big chances. He didn't make big mistakes. And that's the reason why he got the win against Deiveson. He was just the better fighter, in there. He had more power. He had Figueiredo at certain points confused on what to do. And when you can get your opponent in that position where they're a little bit confused, it's just going to make you better as far as what you're doing. And he fought probably the best fight I've seen him fight since he was champion.
Yeah.
Really. And it was impressive. He's coming off an injury. And the thing is, he's not old, but it's very difficult to come back and be that champion again. He's got a good shot because he can still fight, man. He's good.